In the headline, the Public Service Union settles members' non-salary benefits with government. Cuba's impact on Dominica about to expand further as an additional 14 students receive scholarships, and UE scientists say while Dominican volcanoes remain active, there is no sign of imminent eruption. I am Kenny Williams with the Channel 5 News. I'll be back with the details right after this. First up, the General Secretary of the Public Service Union has written to the Chief Personnel Officer to raise union members' concerns about the taxation of a bonus salary agreed to as part of salary negotiations. Thomas Layton says salary negotiations for the 2015-2018 period would have ended were it not for concerns by public servants at a general membership meeting on Tuesday over government's proposal for the second year.
The latest position is a zero for the first year, and for the second year, while a wage freeze is being proposed, we are looking at a one-off payment, that is for the second year, one-off payment of 2 months' salary. So that would be a one-time, and public officers, in addition to getting their normal salary, will get a one-off payment of 2 months. The problem with that position is when we were negotiating, we were at the stage where 1 month was being offered. We were told that it would have been tax exempted. No income tax would have been paid. So we have now got information that the 2 months tax will be applied.
Layton has argued that since it is a bonus or an allowance, it should not be taxed.
The Income Tax Act makes provision for Cabinet to take a decision to give an order that it could be tax exempted. So as a result of those concerns, at our meeting yesterday, we could not approve or accept what was on the table, the latest that's on the table. We are saying once those concerns, which have been mentioned of, once they are positively reviewed and resolved, the possibility exists that we can close negotiations.
Layton says the letter to the Chief Personnel Officer on the concerns was delivered to her office on Wednesday. Next up, the UE Seismic Research Center has found that all 9 volcanoes on island still have the potential for eruption. Dr. Irosila Pat Joseph of the Trinidad-based SRC recently visited the island to monitor volcanic activity. Says the country's volcanoes continue to show signs of activity.
The volcanoes on Dominica are young, relatively young, and it means that it has the potential for eruption in the future. That's all it means, really. So they're not extinct, they're not dead.
Dr. Joseph, who holds a PhD in volcanology, pointed out, however, that their studies have not shown increased activity to indicate any eruption is near.
The fact that you have degassing, as evidenced by the visible hot springs and fumaroles, the seismic earthquakes seismic activity in the form of earthquakes that you occasionally feel, shows magma is migrating beneath the surface of the earth, and that, along with the young dates of the volcanic systems, indicates that they have the potential for eruption in the future.
A report of the observations will be submitted to the Office of Disaster Management for reference and any follow-up action if necessary.
So the idea of regularly monitoring the systems is to create a timeline, a time series of the background activity, so that with ongoing monitoring we can detect deviations from that background, and then what its effect is in terms of changes in activity and alert levels and that sort of thing.
Dominica's 9 active volcanoes are Mont Odiab, Mont Toipiton, Mont Diablotin, Mont Wat, Mont Anglais, Waterwaven Caldera, Valley of Desolation, Grand Soufriere Hills, and Mont Plat-Pays. Meantime, a team of researchers are on a 2-week mission studying the volcanic activity and landscape of the island. This is being done by research scientist Dr. Irosila Joseph from the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center in collaboration with research scientists from Union College, Oberlin College, and the Smithsonian Institute in the United States. Dr. Joseph told Channel 5 News on Tuesday they have been visiting various sites to collect samples which will further guide their study.
For right now, in terms of that team collaboration, is focused on Dominica. So Dominica is of interest because it's very different from the other volcanic islands in the Lesser Antilles, in that the other islands have one potentially live volcanic center. However, because of its, we believe because of its position along the arc, in that curvature, where the arc kinks, it gives rise to different processes beneath the plate that gives rise to the 9 potentially active centers on Dominica. So that's, one of the main interests of selecting Dominica.
The Union College has been working with the UE Seismic Research Center for years on monitoring volcanic landforms on island.
This collaboration originally arose out of a visit to Montserrat, actually. In 2008, I was visiting Montserrat with a group of students at the observatory, and I met Dr. Joseph at that time. And since then, Dr. Joseph and I have had collaborations looking at some of the water chemistry in particular on Dominica. So our expectations for this mission are to help the Seismic Research Center at UWI to continue their monitoring efforts in Dominica. Over the past 3 years, we have been collecting water chemistry from around the island to establish baseline chemistry. So we would know in the future if there is volcanic unrest. So that's our first mission, is to continue our monitoring of the water system on the island.
Dr. Frey has also brought 16 students on this mission to work on individual research projects related to the volcanic history of Dominica.
Our secondary goal is to educate some of our students and provide an opportunity for them to see a unique volcanic landscape. These are students from colleges across the United States, from Washington State, from Massachusetts, from Ohio, and most of them have never seen an extinct volcano, much less one like in Dominica, where there is relatively that there is potential for activity. So it's an opportunity for the students to learn in Dominica, and then also to collect data that they can analyze for our project. All of our data that we acquire, we disseminate then to the Office of Disaster Management as well as Forestry. So Forestry Division is responsible for giving us the research permits to do the work. So we've been in contact with them over the last several years to explain what our mission is and the types of data that we're collecting. And they've also accompanied us in the field.
Boiling Lake, Valley of Desolation, Cold Soufriere, Waterwaven, Sulphur Springs, Mont Toipiton, Mont Odiab, and the country's lava domes are among the sites being visited. Onto education, where 14 recipients of scholarships for studies in Cuba have been told they should consider themselves fortunate. Speaking at a Cuban Scholarship Award ceremony, the Minister for Education, Peter Saint-Jean, said prior to the year 2000, only a handful of Dominicans were selected to pursue studies in the Northern Caribbean country. The scholarships were awarded for students in medicine, pharmaceutical science, medical imaging and radiophysics, civil, chemical and mechanical engineering, and health technology.
We have pursued an aggressive program that addresses the needs of our people, the education needs of our people. And in fact, Dr. Darrow, I think it was 2 years ago, a decision was taken by Cuba to expand the program so that rather than sending out 5 or 6 students to study in Cuba, today we are sending out 14, if I'm not mistaken. So we have 14 young Dominicans, and of course some who have already completed their programs and are going out to specialize, and that is significant because while we're expanding millions of dollars developing the national hospital and ensuring that we take the health of our people to the next level. It is important that we not just focus on infrastructural development, but that we have the skill sets that are required to deliver quality health to the nationals of our country.
Cuban Ambassador, His Excellency Juan de la Rosa, advised students to make the most of the scholarship opportunity, then return to build Dominica.
So for us, it's a big honor to participate in this ceremony. During the last 39 years, Cuba has a scholarship program with Dominica. For a number of years, Dominica has been sending a student to get a specialization or to get a career. As I always say, Cuba do not have oil, do not have diamond. We have the capacity to prepare human research. And this is what we share with Dominica. So in the next weeks, 14 Dominican students will go to Cuba to study medicine, engineer, health technology, and other careers.
Coming up, the OECS and its focus on developing the region's creative industries. Thanks for staying with us. An over 50% increase in tourist arrivals reported for the month of April. The Minister for Tourism says his ministry has been working smart to boost the number of tourists who come to the island, and this is evident in the more recent data gathered.
The Ministry of Tourism and Urban Renewal is working smart for you, the stakeholders, and the people of Dominica to ensure that we improve the economic activity in Dominica. I just want to highlight one of our achievements so far, and the preliminary numbers for the month of April 2017 was 6,997 visitors, which is a 51.4% growth over April 2016, and also a 26% growth over April 2015. I want to thank all the stakeholders for making these results a reality, and especially the efforts of the Discover Dominica Authority.
Tung, who was speaking at the launching of Dive Fest 2017, said it is imperative that the various stakeholders work together to realize more improvement in the number of tourist arrivals.
The government, inclusive of the ministry, seeks to strengthen the bonds existing between the ministry and the Dominica Water Sports Association as it relates to the coordination and promotion of the water sports activities on this island. We all need to be cognizant of the need to create synergies with the many stakeholders, because no one can do it by themselves, since there is much success to be gained when such an approach is adopted. The government is well aware of the numerous challenges confronting the industry currently, and so the Ministry of Tourism, in conjunction with the Dominica Water Sports Association and the other relevant authorities and entities, are working smart together to address these challenges.
We continue with this item where, in its continued effort to ensure road safety of visitors and locals alike, the Dominica Bureau of Standards is finalizing the process of having standardized tires imported to the island. This as Dominica recognizes its role in the World Health Organization's Decade of Action for Road Safety, which runs from 2011 to 2020. Program Manager for the National Standards Development Program of the Bureau of Standards, Mara Abraham, says the document for standardizing vehicle tires is well underway.
Currently, we are in the process of adopting two standards, two international standards which provide requirements for what the first one is for passenger cars, what the tire on a passenger car should be, as well as for trucks and buses. So we have two separate documents dealing with both. One for cars and one for trucks and buses. So we've actually started that process. Where we are right now is that the document should soon be adopted. We've gone through what we call the public comment stage, and now it's being taken back to committee. That way they can finalize the document and submit it for adoption.
Abraham says that while the Caribbean does not produce tires, it was easy to develop a document from already existing information.
What we did was we looked at the international market because we don't produce tires here. Neither do we do it in the region. So we looked at the international market. In that case, we looked at the International Organization for Standardization, which is ISO. Everybody know ISO. Okay, so we looked at them, and they have a number of standards as it relates to standards and standard parts and that sort of thing. So we selected the two that provide requirements for tires and rims. Because a lot of the requirements we would not change because they're already international requirements. So most of the manufacturers out there would have been adhering to those standards already. So we just we're in the process of adopting with a few deviations.
Program manager hopes that when the tire standards have been adopted, Dominicans will adhere to the requirements to avoid the risk of environmental hazards.
We're hoping that if it doesn't meet the requirements, then they will not import it. Okay, because we do not, was what we want, what we do not want is that it comes into the country and then you have to dispose of it because we create another problem. How do we then dispose of all those tires that does not meet the requirements? So we're hoping that we're trying to do prevention as opposed to bringing it into Dominica and then it doesn't meet the requirements. We can have maybe a few not meeting requirements. However, we do not want to have an entire consignment being rejected because it does not meet the requirements. So.
In other news, as the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States recognizes 36 years as a grouping, there continues to be an intense focus on developing the region's creative industry into a serious money-making venture. Business Development Officer with the OECS Competitive Business Unit, Sobus Esprit, says across the region, people have realized the need to grow the creative sector into something that can be exported to the wider world and be a source of income generation for the region.
Prior to the last 10-15 years, we saw culture and the creative sector as really hobbies and as fun and enjoyment. So people did those things. In the last decade or so, there has been an accent to move more into formalizing structures, providing support to build the ecosystems across the cultural industries to make it much more competitive so that we can create cultural goods and services that are much more competitive and, of course, that we can sell to the rest of the world.
Esprit says while governments are cognizant of the need to push the sector forward, there are still obstacles hindering the smooth development of the creative industries.
The challenges range from issues of training and capacity building to business development, to access to capital, equipment. Those kinds of things really put a tremendous challenge for us. Of course, there's a weak infrastructure to support development of culture generally, and so our work is really trying to work with member states in addressing some of those critical issues. I can say safely that there has been a great deal of uptake by member states in the work of the Competitive Business Unit as it relates to the cultural industries.
He revealed that the OECS is not limiting itself to developing the creative industries only and is hoping to break new frontiers in other areas.
The next phase of the work is going to really focus a lot on building entrepreneurship. So we want to build a culture of entrepreneurship within the OECS among the key sectors that we are working with to ensure that the next frontier is about ensuring that we understand how business operates, how business is managed, and of course how we can take our products and our services to the rest of the world.
The OECS celebrated its 36th anniversary earlier this week. And empowering young people is commendable, but as one official of the National Youth Council puts it, recognizing them for their achievements is equally as important. Speaking to Channel 5 News ahead of the NYC's 12th Annual Youth Awards, Communications Officer Paul Barron says failure to recognize young people's accomplishments can impact negatively on their self-esteem.
What has happened over the last few months is that we were entertaining the nomination process, and we have over 60 nominees. There are 18 categories to include academic, sports, tourism, faith-based, also the Kalinago Youth Awards, and also the Differently Able Youth Award for someone who is a challenge but still breaking the barrier in his or her own development. So these are just some of the categories that will be featured there at the National Awards, and I must say at this point we are truly excited about it and looking forward to the 24th.
The NYC identifies the young people who qualify for awards and then engage the public and private sector to donate awards. Saturday's National Youth Awards will be held at the Dominica State College from 6 p.m. Prime Minister Skerrit and President Charles Savary are expected to attend. Senator Josiah Benoit is down to deliver brief remarks. That's news. Your sports highlights next. On the cricket scene, West Indies' 13-man squad will be looking for a change in fortunes when they take on India in a one-day international series beginning on Friday. The series will be referred to as the Seagram's Royal Stag Mega Cricket Cup 2017. The Windies' full squad in that series reads Jason Holder captain, Devendra Bishu, Jonathan Carter, Ruston Chase, Miguel Cummins, Shai Hope, Alzari Joseph, Evan Lewis, Jason Mohammed, Ashley Nurse, Kieran Powell, Rovman Powell, and Kesrick Williams. Shannon Gabriel is unavailable for selection due to injury and will continue his rehabilitation in Trinidad. The first and second matches will be played at Queen's Park Oval on Friday, June 23 and Sunday, June 25, respectively. First ball is scheduled for 9 a.m. Meantime, India's head coach Anil Kumble stepped down from his position after a year in charge after saying his partnership with captain Virat Kohli was untenable. Kumble says Kohli had reservations about his coaching style. The former head coach said the Board of Control for Cricket in India had attempted to resolve the misunderstandings, but he decided it was best to move on. During his time in charge, India won 12 and lost one of the 17 tests they played and claimed ODI series wins over New Zealand and England. Despite India's success in Kumble's year in charge, during which the team climbed to #1 in the test rankings, the board advertised for fresh interviews for the head coach's position instead of extending his contract. Kumble, whose original contract ran till the end of the Champions Trophy, had already reapplied for the job and only last week accepted the BCCI's offer to extend his contract to include the West Indies series. Sports continues with netball, where sports coordinator Trevor Shillingford says the government continues to support netball with the consideration for accommodating the sport at the new multi-sports complex. His comments at a recent meeting of the Dominica Netball Association on Australia's Ambassador for Women here.
This strategic move towards development of netball continued from the standpoint of the government of Dominica with the proposed construction of a new sports complex which will include an indoor sports facility. An indoor sports facility which will, or a complex which will cost the government of Dominica close to $43 million. And the sport of netball has actually inflated the cost of that facility. Because in order to host international netball, you must have 3 adjacent netball courts. And in order to accommodate netball, the government took the decision to put the additional costs to ensure that netball will not be left out.
He says plans are in place to ensure a level of continuity in the sport locally.
Not only are we providing the training, but we are also providing opportunities for the young girls to participate at the competitive levels, at the under-13s, the under-14s, the under-16s, the under-17s, the under-20s, and up to the under-23 team, which we hand over to the Dominica Netball Association. So we have created a pathway toward the development of elite athletes or elite netball players.
On the basketball scene, the 2017 Flow DABA League continues on Thursday, weather permitting, with 2 Division I matches. At 7 p.m., Paybush Snipers will come up against Sports Division Inter-Schools in the first encounter. At 9 p.m., Kelvedare Hurricanes will be looking to recover from their previous defeat when they come up against Digital Clouds. Both matches are scheduled for the St. Joseph Hard Court. In track and field, 4 athletes represented Dominica at the recent NACAC Games in Trinidad and came back with good performances. They participated in the heptathlon girls and boys events there.
Jovina David, she had personal records in the 80 meters in a time of 11.2 seconds, 60 meter hurdles in a time of 10.85 seconds, in the 1,000 meters in a time of 3 minutes 50.84 seconds. The other female, Endalia Laura, finished 29 out of 32 in the baseball throw with a throw of 35.96 meters. She had a new personal record. In shot put, 6.87 meters personal record. She equaled her personal record in the high jump at a height of 1.30 meters. In the 1,000 meters, she ran a time of 3 minutes, 56.76 seconds, which is a new personal record. In the 60 meter hurdles, she ran a time of 12.06 seconds, which is also a personal record. In the 80 meters, she ran a time of 11.62.
Other athletes with good performances were Malachi Coffey, 3 minutes and 40.67 seconds in the 1,200 meters, and Joshua Sejan, 12.7 seconds in the 80-meter hurdles, long jump 5.79 meters, and shot put 12.93 meters. On the local cricket scene, the Siniku and Calibishi primary schools topped their zone in the sports division round of 16 cricket festival recently. Siniku and Calibishi finished on top with 6 points each, followed by Mount Prosper and St. John's tied on 3. The top 2 schools advanced to the quarterfinal. Still in primary school sports, Siniku and St. Martin will advance to the semi-finals of the Primary Schools Netball Festival following a big win on Tuesday. In the second division, Siniku Primary crushed Mount Prosper 17-1. This means the matchup for the semis will be Savonpai Clifton combined versus Coolibistry and St. Martin Primary against defending champions Siniku Primary. That's all the time for sports. Join us next time. Coming up with the weather forecast.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. I'm your presenter, Annie Corrette Joseph. The Atlantic high pressure system re-established itself across the area today, and this resulted in generally partly cloudy to cloudy skies. Visible satellite imagery showed some low-level clouds over the east and off the coast of Dominica during the afternoon. Radar imagery indicated some shower activity over Dominica and the Lesser Antilles during the course of the afternoon. Conditions for tonight, partly cloudy to cloudy skies with some scattered showers. Tomorrow, similar weather conditions, partly cloudy to cloudy skies with some scattered showers. Marine conditions, moderate in open water with waves up to 7 feet. Small craft operators and sea bathers, you are advised to continue to exercise caution. Conditions for the next 3 days, a trough system is expected to affect the area. Tomorrow, Thursday, resulting in an increase in cloudiness. On Friday and Saturday, partly cloudy to cloudy skies with some scattered showers can be expected. Across the region tomorrow, partly cloudy to cloudy skies with some shower activity can be expected throughout the Lesser Antilles. On the international scene, clear skies can be expected in New York, partly cloudy skies in Miami, some showers in London, and some thunderstorm activity in Caracas and Beijing. The sun will rise tomorrow at 5:36 a.m. and set at 6:39 p.m. For up-to-date information, log on to our website at weather.gov.dm or call the weather hotline at 447-5555. Please remember that we are in the hurricane season. Please keep updated. Thank you and good evening.
To end the news, the headlines again. The Public Service Union settles members' non-salary benefits with government. Cuba's impact on Dominica about to expand further as an additional 14 students receive scholarships, and UWI scientists say while Dominican volcanoes remain active, there is no sign of imminent eruption. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Kenny Williams. To all viewers around the world, we thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.